Here we are. Whoa, what is this? MOT2 Cuckoo Chameleon versus For Everyone Hidden? Huh? For Everyone. 3 years ago. I wonder if you'll have audio as well. Oh, this is going to be copyrighted if it does, but... Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Koi Fishu. Let's get to some interesting stuff here. Oh boy. You really do your thing here. Warming up. Nice little grip there. Little Razer tablet cover. Upside down. Or your mouse pad's just over the tablet. I've done that before. Warming up. We have subtitles?
When I finish playing, why not? Sure.
Number one band. LOL? Oh, never mind. Oh, they did a thing where you automatically... Yeah, you don't get to choose. Man, why do some tournaments do that? Oh no, this was probably bad. This guy's streaming being 180k, or maybe that was a different game mode. Maybe? Who knows? It's around to 64, so probably not. And it's a 1v1 tourney. This might have, I mean, it was 3 years ago. This might not have been bad. This might have been close. First ban. Get to the ban. We're playing a map? Or a warm-up, maybe?
There's a very good chance I'm gonna
Oh. Nope. DT 1 or 2, I think.
lose every single match.
Oh. He thinks he's gonna lose. He's got... Oh, this is 8. Wait, no, this is a person. Or 2 people. This guy's got some people here. I didn't even realize I was being streamed.
Or game or whatever.
Yeah.
So I've actually got to try, unlike last time, which I mean I tried but I won by a lot.
You won by a lot. This guy's good. Okay, this is gonna get... Yep.
Okay.
Who won? I won. What was the score? Okay. 600, 700k? That's not bad. I just probably FC'd or something.
God.
Oh my god. 1 mil. 1.1. 1.17? That's like the best score I've ever got on a tournament, Matt. Ever. Oh my god.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance anyway. He
99.3 years ago? What star rating is this? Can we find this map? Sunset Collab Hard Rumia? Jeez, you can see my beautiful typing skills. Hard. Collab hard? Yeah. Oh, jeez. 4.18 stars? What? How? Why were we playing 4 stars? 4.2 star? I don't... Was it overweighted? By Rumia. I mean, that makes a lot more sense now, but I mean... Anyways, we're getting sidetracked. Actually, I want to know what happened there. I mean, if it was 4.2 stars, it was probably just a boring match. History? There's no history? No, because I just... Okay. I mean, maybe I could... I mean, it was an hour long, so it couldn't have been too... or he just kept streaming after the match.
Cool.
Yeah. Bro, what was this? This is just a... I just feel bad after these sometimes.
Damn. Hold on, I got better accuracy. If I hadn't had missed
Yeah. There you go.
that one time, I actually would have beaten him, but that's fine. GG.
Yeah, God, this is just hard to watch. What was the score? It was probably just my first of 5 or maybe 4.
Yep, that's fine. Now I'm in the losers bracket, which means
God, this... Seeing the other side, seeing the other person being like, yep, I just got fucked by some fucking piece of shit that just doesn't rank up just so they can beat other people. Not the prettiest sight. Anyways, 13 subscribers it says. So I did a little calculation here with my total videos and my total views. Here you can see, and it averages out to about 20 views a video. So if we even just do the what's the word for the, you know, the humble version here of just the 13 people. Supposedly 13 people will see this being uploaded and probably not even take a second glance at it and keep scrolling through their subscriptions and actually watch something interesting, but potentially the 13 people that might click on this and listen to it. I'm thinking if I actually do this consistently, I could get it on Spotify or something so it could just be listened to, but I need to lock in. That's what I need to do. Need to not be such a bitch. Oof. Not water. There we go. Twisted tea right here. Peach flavor. That's what we need. At 11:29 a.m. on Sunday, July 5th. That's how I need to start it. You gotta put yourself in reality first. And then you can delve into the stupidness of online. Anyway, what do we have going on for us in 2026? July 5th, the day after America's 250th. We're all really excited about that. We're all what? I get the feeling there's probably about maybe 10% of the population that really cares, of Americans, I should specify. And then the rest of us are just like, nah. Yeah, you know, another 4th of July. It's really, these celebrations are really just for the kids. It's just for, you know, the like 3 to 12-year-olds. After 12, you start to get cynical and think you're better than the thing. You're like, yeah, fireworks? That's for little kids. Those little 13-year-olds that think they know about life. Which is good. You gotta start young. You gotta start young. Figure out. Yeah, you gotta realize the value of being an egoist as young as possible. And so 13 is a great age to do that. As well as drinking. I would recommend any parents out there to introduce your children to just like light beer, like Coors Light at 13. Or even for, I would say, for girls at 13. Actually, I shouldn't speak on girls. I really don't have an informed opinion on how to raise a girl. But for boys, you could probably hand them a Coors Light at 11, 12. Be like, this is for you. You need to. This is something you need to understand. As well as a cigarette. It's a little outside of my. I'm not very familiar with cigarettes either, but when I think about raising an ideal child in America 250 years after its conception, I think with your 11-year-old boy in your nuclear family, where it's you and your wife, or you and your husband, if your husband isn't like for some reason confident on his own to take charge in this situation, then you got to face your husband and be like, hey, you need to do this. You need to get a Coors Light, get a Marlboro Light, hand them to your son, give him a lighter, and say, son, this is for you. You need to light this cigarette and smoke it and drink this Coors Light now. It's going to be harder otherwise. You don't want your son to be 18 and going to a party and then playing some beer pong, and then he airballs it, and the people are like, oh, there's a shot, and then he goes nervously, what? You really want to avoid that. So around 11, 12 years old, 4th of July is a great time too. It's summer. The days are longer if you're in the northern hemisphere. I mean, I guess the U.S. is all in the northern hemisphere, but if you're really up north, then the days are especially long. It doesn't even get dark till like 10 p.m. And you can, out in your front lawn, because you're a good American, and you live in a humble 1,200 square foot house with some neighbors in your cul-de-sac or your street, and outside of your driveway or your little lawn on the street, you light your fireworks. You have a little grill or fire of some kind, and you get the cold Coors Light and you hand it to your son, and he drinks it, and he goes, oh, this is awful. You say, no, son, that right there, that's America. And you tell him that he has to finish it. You can't be wasteful. So I forgot why I was going on about this, but other than that, these celebrations like Christmas and Easter and 4th of July, they're not for us anymore. They're really just an excuse to hang out with your shallow friends and maybe have a drink with them if you're not a problem drinker. Because that's, I mean, they would argue they're on a higher plane. They're more enlightened by being able to enjoy other people's company without a drink. But really, they can't handle having some alcohol and having a good time. So that's kind of what these things. If you could be that kind of guy that is looking forward to the 4th of July, and that's for a reason other than the excuse of barbecuing or hanging out with the people, but for the actual celebration of the independence of the United States. It's you got to grow up eventually. And that's not easy to hear if you're 35 and you eagerly look forward to lighting fireworks in celebration of this idea. But someone's got to let you know. And if I have to, I'll do it. Anyway, what has been going on besides 4th of July on this July 5th? The spring 2026, the 2026 spring anime season came to an end. Actually, it's probably still going on for one or two anime that I don't know about, but in our case here, for what's really important, most stuff is finished now, and we can now accurately assess and compare everything, and figure out what was the highlights, what were the lowlights, what was just kind of mid. And so that's what we have here. I went through this last season and I watched 20 anime, mostly of the romance genre, with a couple other stuff that I've either been keeping up with or I found interesting. Some weird stuff, some surprising stuff, some really good original stuff, and some purely guilty pleasure stuff. And here it is. You can see the objective rankings here. These are non-negotiable. You really can't argue against them. You can try. You could put up a good case probably for some of these, but really these are the rankings these anime deserve. And so we can kind of go through them here a little bit. Starting at the bottom, we have Pardon the Intrusion and Always a Catch, with that 4 out of 10 score. I would like to know who enjoyed watching these. Here's what I really would like to know. I don't know if the source material for either of these was a light novel or manga. It was probably a manga. More than likely, most of these were manga. This is the great thing about having the internet, is you can just find out for yourself really quickly here. You can just go on my anime list and lean forward and get your keyboard and type out the thing. If I had a little slave, I could tell him to do it, but we're not there yet. We only have 13 subscribers, so we can't afford a slave yet. Let's see here. Let's start with Pardon. Pardon the Intrusion got an average on Mal of 6.68, so low even for Mal. And the source was a web manga. Web manga. What is a web manga? This just says manga. Volumes and chapters on. They really don't have much on this. There's probably so many manga. This is ranked 50,000. And this one got an anime, so this is like highly rated. Jeez. Started in 2020. So 6 years ago it started, and finally some studio, what studio decided to take this up? This was, oh boy. See, this will get embarrassing is when I try to pronounce something I clearly can't pronounce or pronounce well. Should I even try? super slowly, so it's obvious, right? Tatsun. Oh, it's bad even trying. Tatsunoko. God. Oh, I really shouldn't. Tatsunoko production. There you go. You gotta keep the monotone voice as you do it. Produced Ava, apparently. That doesn't sound right. Kadokawa. So many different ones. I mean, Gainax was the main one, right? Oh, here's this. Oh, that's producers. Studio. Wait, did I click on producer instead of studio? Nope. So this is a studio that produced Ava, not production anime. Not animated. Oh, so here it is. Studio Gainax. So both? Well, something to look into, but it'd be interesting if they did that. But yeah, so this Pardon, I would, the kind of person that would read it. I mean, some people obviously buy the physical manga and read it, but I would bet the majority of people just pirate, right? But anyway, like you're going out of your way and you're spending time reading this story of this salary woman who lives in between two famous authors by chance and pretends to be the boyfriend of one of them for some reason that I can't even remember because it was so contrived. And that's the source of the majority of conflict. and there's the both of the guys are trying to woo her, but it's so awkward and nothing happens. And that's going to be the gist of the reason why most of these have the rank that they have. I feel like there's just not really a lot you could even do with this premise of a salary woman being housed in between two of her. I mean, like we've eventually. This is obviously going to have spoilers. I'm going to talk about all of these, so if you haven't seen them, well, I'm going to tell you about them. She idolizes the one, and then the other one she doesn't know she also idolizes, and then she finds out that it is, and that's all that happens. There's nothing really happens. There's no change in the relationships. The pretending to be the boyfriend doesn't develop into anything. It just stops. Then they stop pretending to be boyfriend girlfriend, and the other one never. The only time something happened was when the other one kissed on the lips. Full kiss. Kissed the our main heroine here, Rinko. And then still nothing happened. It was just like, oh, you kissed her, and then, oh well. So what? At the end, at the last episode, it's the characters. The characters say the title of the show. Pardon my intrusion. And they live happily ever after, and nothing ever happens. So this was a bad show. It gets a 4 out of 10 because it actually had some moments there where like the character kisses her, and then one of them, it seems like one of them might say something that gets her, or she might have feelings for one of them, but yeah, nothing ever happens. And so it's really a waste of time. And the same can be said for Always a Catch there on next to that one, which is even worse. It's not a 3 out of 10 because it does have a surprisingly strong first episode. We have a shockingly good premise here for episode 1 here, and then it just stops being good after that. It has one good episode, and that's episode 1, and then it's nothing after that. We start with this heroine here that needs to find a husband, needs to go to the city and find a husband, and so she goes to this ball, and she has like a cousin or something that she's going with, and she is supposedly betrothed to this prince, but they haven't been meeting recently. He's been busy or something. And then there's this little thing with a little villainess getting stuck in her carriage, and then them offering to help her, and her refusing the help, and then being offered the help by the prince, and she accepts the help of the prince, and the prince is like, and the villainess tells him, oh, these other ladies came by and they refused to help me. They actually caused me to get stuck here. And the misunderstanding gets to the prince, and the prince goes, and it's been so long since he's seen the cousin, he doesn't even remember what the cousin looks like, and So our main heroine here is the one that gets taken by the prince and publicly announces that he is breaking off the engagement. You're like, whoa. There's a lot of plot here, and suppose it might be an interesting story here going on with some of these characters and the twists of this villainess manipulating things. And then in the second episode, the misunderstanding gets cleared up, and the prince actually likes the heroine, and they just have a couple little adventures. They don't even really have adventure. It's just the heroine goes like back home, and it's just like characters getting to know each other. Like we get introduced to her family, and then she saves a little town for like 5 episodes or 6. It's a huge chunk that's so awful and boring. I wanted to drop it midway through because it's just nothing was happening. Well, you get through that, and then she finally meets up with the prince again, and they go on a couple dates or something, and then they finally get engaged at the end, and you're like, okay, well, that was probably the biggest disappointment in this whole season, was just from that first episode showing so much promise and then nothing happening again for the rest of the show. But yeah, so those are your bad ones. Don't watch them. They're awful. Then you have your average shows here. We have The Angel Next Door season 2. Just mediocre. They confessed to each other in the first season and started dating in the first season. So now the second season's just about them getting closer and talking about more serious topics like having sex and marriage. And it's half interesting, so it gets an average rating of 5 out of 10. If you need to waste some time and you watch the first season, then perhaps you'll waste some time half efficiently by watching the second season. Not a lot to be said there. It really was just like a kind of daily life of these two characters after they are honest with each other and continue being honest with each other. And then we have the two weird ones. They have these white borders around them because I did some expert Photoshop and put them in there that way. The first one there in the middle is I don't even know what the English translation is, but it's like Hyaki Yakusho or something like that in Japanese. And it's both of these two are shorter, and they're only about 3 minutes each. They have 12 episodes, but each episode's only 3 minutes, so they're kind of a shorter thing. And Hyaki is definitely like an indie project here, where there's very few frames, but they move a little bit, and they're effective. And so it tells the story of a cursed child, or a child that becomes a curse sort of thing after being locked in a shed that burns down. And she half terrorizes some people that are half involved, and the main character finds out the story of her being locked in the shed, and lays the curse to peace or something like that. Yeah, sort of basic curse settling story that was average. So solid 5 out of 10 for that. And the other one's a classic ecchi, that, just plays the role of being horny and showing you anime breasts, because those always have that basic primal appeal of being shapely and animated to perfection. So you can get a lot of that in that show. That uses the excuse of being a story about an apartment complex manager that has to get involved with all these housewives or whatever that get captured by this demonic underwear that magically transforms them into lustful housewives, something like that. So there you go. That's that. I don't need to go through all of these, but well, might as well, we have time here. Six out of 10, we have a detective story. It has one good insert song. It almost makes it worth the watch. And then we have Yoa Yoa, the weak sensei, the weak teacher. It's not bad. Kind of disappointing in the ending with nothing really happening, but a consistent middle makes it a solid 6 out of 10. And the Kanan one, where she's a demon and she falls in love with a normal-ish guy. Maybe something could happen, but in this first season, nothing really happened. I mean, the relationship grew, and it was kind of interesting to see it grow in the way it did. So it got its 6 out of 10 from that. And then this otaku show had some promise, and it's pretty highly reviewed on Mal. I think it's like a high 7. .49, so not as high as I thought, but still relatively high, I think, for Mal, especially if we compare it to some of the other stuff, like Kanan's gonna be super low. Yeah, 7.1. But what is it technically? Gals can't be kind to otaku. Otaku. The show could have done better. It had a good middle. The beginning was kind of awkward. The beginning was also fine. The beginning was fine. The middle was showing promise here. It's a classic kind of love triangle thing here. The two girls like the guy, and the guy likes them both. And in this case, the guy is like especially kind, and never picks one of them. Never shows any favoritism to either. And that's kind of where the show didn't go in the right direction. I think the guy needed to have a little more personality, and it really started to get interesting in like the second to last episode there, because the guy was like seeing other guys talk to the girls and getting jealous and getting, oh wait, why what is this feeling? Why am I jealous? I should be happy for the girls. We finally started getting some juice from this main character that was just kind of bland and boring the whole season, but they make sure not to do anything too dangerous, and in the last episode they just returned to being friends, and similarly nothing happened. But for being as strong as it was with that painfully boring ending, it gets a 6 out of 10. Now, some of these in 7 out of 10 are going to be controversial, but there's a good reason why they are what they are. Let's start with the more reasonable ones here at the end with the second prettiest girl. This is just a classic 7 out of 10. You know, the guy meets the girl. The guy's awkward. The girl's not. The girl's popular. I think the anime is literally titled "I Made Friends with the Second Prettiest Girl in Class." So you pretty much get the whole gist of the show just from that. They make friends. They become friends. They get close. They start to like each other. They start dating in the first season. What? And that's it. Nothing. I mean, you get the gist from the title, and there's no reason to really watch the show besides getting those classic feelings that you'll get from any other romance anime. That's, half worth being called that. It's the reason it's 7 out of 10 and not 6 out of 10 like Gals is because something actually happens with the relationship. They actually become a boyfriend and girlfriend, and so it kind of isn't it quite right considering the title being I Made Friends. I mean, yeah, they're still friends after they start dating, but anyway, nothing happens in Gals. Something happens in Second Prettiest, and so it's good 7 out of 10. And then we have similarly, I want to end this love game, similar type of thing, kind of like Kaguya-sama here, where they have this game of saying I love you to each other just to see if they can make the other person crack. They have this relationship. They have these feelings for each other that they can't admit. So you get those classic feelings throughout. And there's this really good kissing scene where they're doing I think it's called Poquito, where they do the spaghetti type noodle thing where they each take a bite until they get closer into their lips, and they really get into it. They really start making out. It's kind of intense. It does well. But they don't do much else. There isn't a lot of characters. It's really just these two characters. There's a little bit from a third girl that could potentially like the guy, but they don't do a lot with it, and so, solid 7 out of 10. These two over here, the replica and the observation log, are kind of a little more original. The replica is still a school romance in the classic sense, but there's replicas where where people can just create a replica from a distressing situation. And then these two replicas meet and they like each other. And there's it's sort of a mystery with finding out the purpose of these replicas and what they really are. And it kind of gets revealed in the end that the replicas are actually just a part of the original person. So they really need to just kind of merge back into the original person. It has a rushed ending and could have done a little better, I think, with it. Maybe if it had another episode, it could have gotten an 8 out of 10. It was just a solid show. Nothing too crazy happened. So, solid 7. Observation Log is interesting little take on the isekai into an otome game. Otome? Otome? Someone here? Shoot. No, no one's here. Just some dirt bikes outside. Dirt bikes, those kids. Lots to explain here in the summary of this. I mean, it's 20 animated, so yeah, can't do it quickly. I'm trying my best here, but observation log. Yeah, the however you pronounce otome game. The girl gets isekai'd into the villainess role, and she tries to change the outcome. And she does, and it's a little interesting tale of that. Solid 7. And then these two are going to be the controversial ones with Ramparts and Pawn's Skirt for short. I think it's like Klutzy Class Monitors, something like that. These were definitely some of the better anime of the season. And so it's going to be surprising to anyone who watched them to see them in the 7 out of 10 spot. For example, Ramparts has an 8.2 on Mal, and Klutzy has a 7.6. So not as good as Ramparts, but still on the higher end of things. And yes, these are 7 out of 10s. I'll tell you why. The story is not finished, and that's obvious. And I think the directors know that, and so they're okay with leaving it off where they leave it off. With Klutzy, they leave it off in this half comedic, half melancholic state of the main characters liking each other and hanging out, and everyone else doing, being left in their situation. Does Klutzy have plans for a second season? Does anyone know? No official announcement. Manga keeps going. So, maybe. Maybe not. Ramparts is confirmed for a second season. But Klutzy's good. It's not bad. But it's not great. And that's why it's not an 8 out of 10. You'll have fun watching it, but it doesn't deviate too much from the normal high school romance. And so that's why it's a 7 out of 10. And I'd love to hear your argument for why it's good. And I'll tell you that it is good right after you give me your argument. And I'll tell you right after that, though, that it's not great. It's not great. It doesn't have a solid conclusion. And that's why it's not great. Same thing with Ramparts. Ramparts is a great anime. One of the best this season. Really, really, Netflix did well with it. It had a nice long 14 episode season. The characters got involved with each other. Things got messy and dramatic. And the story is obviously not over. There's the second season's going to be in the fall. And so we'll pick things up later, but for now, for just this first season, things got messy and things got messy well, and that's why it's a 7 out of 10. If it had a sort of resolution like the next one I'm going to talk about here, then there might be a higher score for it, but that was not the case. So it gets a 7 out of 10. This one is also controversial here. The rest are... Actually, there's one more Actually, there's two more controversial ones. Besides the one I'm going to talk about next year. Haibara's... Teenage New Game Plus here. Let's see what Mal gave Teenage New Game Plus. Oof. 6.6. Terrible. Ponsker got 7.6. Haibara's got 6.6. This is an unpopular view here. 8 out of 10 for Haibara's. Now, why does this new Studio Comet get such a high rating? Because it executed well. It had a decent premise here of a isekai where this salaryman goes back to high school. And I think they could have done a little better with some of the high school interactions here. Like, you'd think the guy would be mature, like a salaryman, like a 24 or even like 22-year-old that's been working for a while, that already went through high school and maybe some college and has been working for a bit. And some of these high school interactions of being like embarrassed by a girl saying, "I think you're cute," is just doesn't quite add up. But forgetting that, the premise of the guy going back to high school, redoing high school, and being friendly instead of cold, and being thin instead of fat, and how that plays out, it's a half interesting idea, and they do a surprisingly good job on figuring out how to make a conflict out of that. You start to think this is just going to be a feel-good story about this guy who's just getting everything right, and they actually do manage to get a interesting conflict out of this guy that's good at everything now, because he's basically gotten like 4 years or more to redo. And so it executes well on this strange idea. And there's a interesting conflict of what you should do in life with choices, in seemingly crazy choices, and the show portrays that weird conflict well, and it has a strong resolution, even with a cliffhanger ending. It's a cliffhanger ending and a strong resolution. Now that sounds odd. I'm always worried someone's just walking in. The relationships are resolved. The conflicts that are set up within the season are resolved. There is a new conflict that is presented that could be dealt with in a second season that's introduced, which makes it an interesting idea and makes you want to watch a second season. But the conflicts that are brought up in the first season are resolved by the end of the season. And that's why it is an 8 out of 10. The 4 seasons is another 8 out of 10. It's kind of self-explanatory. It's got good animation, a good story, and yeah, not much to say there. Classroom of the Elite, another popular pick. Oh, that's it. Well, who knows? Alright, I have my confidence. Classroom of the Elite is solid as well. Another good season. 8 out of 10. Now, one of these is well liked, and the other one is not. At least by Mal users. Well, decently liked. Not as much as Ramparts or even Klutzy, but 7.1 for Curio. And it is one of the two this season above the rest at a 9 out of 10. And I really don't give a lot of stuff a really high rating. So this is kind of an honor. If you make it into a 9 out of 10, you've done something right. And I was not expecting this. It's something you can only really... I mean, you can make that argument with a lot of things, but you know, you can only experience it if you watch it yourself. It's obviously a weak argument because you can't put into words the greatness. But it helps explain why it's so hard to put it into words. It's so... You just don't know with these things. You watch the first episode of a show like Curio Fan Club, and you're confused as to why the opening is so well animated. You can tell a lot of the time from an opening, you know, not necessarily the budget, but maybe a little bit of the popularity or resources or scheduling that a studio has for an anime. And like, if you compare the opening of Curio Fan Club to, let's say, I would say even like Haibara's New Game Plus, you can tell Curio has like more behind it, because the song is original. I don't know, Haibara's might be original as well, but it sounds, you know, like a generic J-pop anime opening, whereas Curio's is specific to Curio, seemingly, and has a distinct style and voice, and a lot of stuff is going on smoothly. And you're like watching these two high school girls talk to each other for a while, and you're thinking, really? This is what has a lot? This is one of the more anticipated things this season? And as you slowly work your way through each episode each week, it just gets better and better. And you are tightly gripping, holding yourself, tensely anticipating this last episode where everything has built up so well. And it delivers. And when you do that, you get a 9 out of 10. So, if you're going to watch something from the spring season and you're not interested in Needy Girl, watch Curio. Not because you like it, but because you should like it. And then Needy Girl is a 9 out of 10. And this one, I was really surprised by the Mal rating for. It is shockingly low. 6.96. Now, I think I know why. If you read some of the reviews, which are mostly negative, or mostly not recommended, 17 recommended, 11 mixed, 30 not recommended. So more not recommended than mixed and recommended combined. You get the gist that they are disappointed because they played the game. And so this is going to be something that's going to be probably changing your opinion of the show, is whether you have played the game before watching the show. I did not play the game before watching the show. I had heard of the game. I had seen it on the Steam store and looked through it and thought it looked interesting, but never, bought it and played it. So I went in fresh. And I think that lack of expectation, as with most things in life, is what helped me appreciate it, as opposed to the people who were disappointed. I think I got what the director was going for, and people in the reviews were saying that the director was like obviously going for a monogatari or monogatari, however people say it, type thing, and it being obvious. And I didn't get that feeling ever while watching. I mean, maybe one time I thought it referenced monogatari, but it never felt overt or harmful to the show in any way. The show felt original, and obviously it has its like everything here, its source material to thank for that, but the show is done well, and it's a great it has this unfortunate baggage of being a game beforehand with different endings, and being popular. It got a blank check, and that really helped it in its being able to do what it wanted to do, and it hurt it with this initial reception. So I think this will get a good cult following after some time. I think in 5 years or so, people will realize that this is a gem like Ava and Lane. I really would liken it to those types of psychological shows. And yeah, this is a good one. It it's not a 10 at the level of Ava. Lane I gave a 9. Also, but it's up there with them. But yeah, so that's the anime for the spring season. That's not just the romance stuff here. I have the list here of just the romance stuff. If you want to visualize it that way here, there was no 5 out of 10s for single season romance anime or anything with a romance tag. Technically, the detective show had the romance tag on Mal, but it really isn't a romance anime. It's a detective anime, so it's not on here. The Four Seasons is also not like a school classic romance, but neither is Observation Log or Always a Catch or Pardon the Intrusion. You know, we gotta be flexible with the definition here a little bit. We could keep it all just to school, to high school at that, and we'd remove Four Seasons and Observation, and then there would be a debate about Yoa Yoa Sensei because of it being about the teacher, and so who knows, but then a large section of Kanon takes place in hell, so you know, these things, they're not cleanly divided. So we have majority romance stuff here, and Four Seasons is, you know, at least a third romance, so it's in there. But yeah, Curio wins for the spring season, and Four Seasons and Haibara are the runner-ups. Now, I am gonna watch some summer anime. Oh yeah, I have the image here because I didn't want to pull up on Edge for some reason. This is my pre-ranking here. I obviously have not seen these, and I know very little about all of them, so I'm really mostly going off of the cover art of these things and maybe the title. But and this cigarette one is or smoking one is already has like a bunch of episodes out already, and it has a really high ranking on Mal, so I took that into account. So up there, yeah, we have Smoking and Polar Opposites 2, which is, you know, piggybacking off of Polar Opposites 1. That was a good show for the winter anime. I didn't watch a lot of winter anime, but Polar Opposites was good. So we have season 2 of that, and then we have some normal school stuff, I think, and a good-looking drama thing here. That's all in A. And this stuff I'm curious about. This is a anime original that's like a My Little Mermaid, not My Little Mermaid, My Little Pony, The Little Mermaid type story. Kind of interested in that. This I am very curious to see how it will play out. It's about a girl that turns into a monster, a Godzilla. So, and then this one I just heard about. This is the non-romance one. I'm gonna watch the Has a lot of people talking about it, about cats that hang out, or cat human hybrids that hang out. Should be something. And these all have the romance tag, but I'm not excited to watch them. This one is probably going to be half romance, half food, or maybe like 3/4 food, quarter romance, which will be really bad if it is. But it's got the romance tag. I'm going to force myself to watch it, and then I have these in C. Just real. These ones are differentiated really just based on the cover art and the title. These I suspect will be really tough to get through. A little more tough than these two. But this surprised me. The only thing I've seen half an episode of this. I had a little time before something yesterday, and so I watched half of this episode. Half of the first episode of this, which you'd think is not like, I thought it was going to be another 3-minute episode type thing, but it's a full 24-minute episode, but it's not quite. The first 11 minutes is the actual show where the exorcist goes around and exorcises demons in a funny way. And then the rest of the 12-13 minutes is a chibi short type thing, but it's 11 minutes long. I got through like 5 minutes of it, but it just kept going on, and I think I'm gonna I don't know if I'll keep up with all that. But yeah, watch these and tell me what you think about them as they're airing this season. I'll have to play some catch up from some of these that have already aired their first or second episode, but then I'll be watching them all episode by episode, week by week. So that will be fun. And we've been going on for a while now here, so it'll be time to wrap it up. We can talk about other stuff later. Most recently, like less than 24 hours ago, current number 1 player in Osu, recently number 1, Toro, set a 2.6 thousand PP play. So that's a new PP record. It's going to be nerfed to about 2000 flat, 2005 exactly, but yeah, it just goes to show how much these numbers can get inflated at the high end. It's pretty much just Toro streaming speed. I used to get really excited by these things. I think they were a little more exciting back when they were really more hybrid type stuff. I mean, there's always just been pure speed stuff that's been interesting too, but it's been arguably worth it. At least it wouldn't get nerfed as much as it's getting nerfed. And I mean, maybe relative here with 2000 PP plays being set, they are getting nerfed equally here, but they weren't. It didn't feel like they were getting nerfed as much as they're getting nerfed these days. So you see a 2.6k top PP play, and you go, okay, yeah, but actually it's only 2k, and we've been sitting around that number for a while now. So who knows? Will people be shocked when someone sets a 3k? Will people? I suspect if it'll be similar to the 2k, where you know, Emmerich basically cheesed the first 2K by abusing a system. It didn't feel like it was deserved, and so I feel like that'll be similar with the 3K and every other barrier from now on. Could be wrong, but that's what I predict. Can leave it off there. I'll see if once I get going here, I can keep going for a little bit. The nerves on starting though are something else. See if I include him here, or if I even include this little last part of me rambling, but I was wondering before I pressed record if I should have a heel type person I can talk to. I can, like Tim Dillon or Theo Vaughn, they talk for something for a bit and they go, does that sound right to you? Blah blah blah. And the person in the background, their quiet voice that barely gets picked up by the mic goes, yeah, you're right. And then the guy, Tim or Theo, can go, yeah. They just get, you know, one other person that is getting paid by them to agree with them, and so they can lean back in their chair and go, yeah, I'm right. But I rationed that. Rationed is not the right word there. When you ration something, you're divvying it up. I figured, or I made the conclusion. I concluded. That's one of those two. Figured if I can't do it on my own, I can't. It's not worth having a heel like that. Won't elevate it. So here we are. Me by myself, rambling to no one, just to myself and anyone who listens. I'll bring it back to the 13 subscribers, but I think that's what I think about. Well, it's probably, maybe it's not the right thing to think about, but that's what I think. I think there's 13 people who pressed subscribe to the Cuckoo channel, and when I upload this, they'll see that, and how likely is it that one of the 13 people will listen to the whole thing? Listen to a random person talk for an hour or so with no credibility. That's the thing. Like people, like the top podcast people have credibility. That's why you listen to them. They've done, like the comedians have done comedy for 10 years, or they have an audience. I have 13 subscribers, so I can read every comment. They like to say, I love it when they say I read every comment, or they try to read every comment. And they all get thousands of comments, and they're obviously not reading every comment. But I can read every comment. So. And I will, because I am lonely. And I would like even bad or insults, any attention will interest me, and I'll engage with it. I'll look for it. I'll look for people paying attention to me. So we'll see if I sit down and press record and do this again next week. I think that's best, is once a week. It makes Makes sense. You don't want a daily thing or a weekday thing. It's too much. You gotta space it out. You gotta take a breath. But that's the plan. I don't have a title for this. You know what? Tim has the Tim Dillon Show. I don't know if I want to be public. I don't want to. If you look hard enough, you could find out who Cuckoo is, but I don't know if I want to be public right away. Or I don't know if that's what is it, comfort? I don't have that credibility, so I have more credibility with my persona of Cuckoo than with my real name. So, you know, for now this will be a Cuckoo branded thing. What'll it be? The Cuckoo Show, or This Past Cuckoo, or The Cuckoo Experience, or Your Cuckoo's House, or The Osu Rabbit Hole, episode 2, where I talk about anime for the majority of it. I recap the spring anime as if that's worth anyone's time. But yeah, I imagine the ideal here is you're like me and you work some job where you want to listen to a podcast because otherwise you'd want to kill yourself. And so you can do that while at work or something. But yeah, I mean, I assume Spotify would like to have some sort of audience before they just let anyone upload their stuff. We'll see. For now, if you want to know a good hack, you can play a YouTube video. If you have an iPhone 15 at least, maybe other iPhones, I don't know, but maybe even Androids, I don't know. But I don't have YouTube Premium, but if I really want to, I can start a YouTube video, and it might work with other apps too, but I can, let it do it a little, go out of the app, but have it still be playing in the little mini player option. I go into the Notes app, and as the video is playing, I turn the display off and put it in my pocket. Obviously the audio stops because you turn the display off. YouTube Premium, without YouTube Premium, doesn't want you to do that, but then on your headphones, or at least with mine, I can press unpause or play, and it'll keep playing the audio even with the display still off. So there you go. For now, you guys can do that. You guys, I instinctively said you guys when this will probably get one pity view for 5 minutes. I would love. Oh man, 5 minutes is kind of being generous too. We'll see, right? Who knows? I'll do this for 5 years straight, once a week, and then if I do this for 5 years straight, and each episode gets each video gets 5 views, 5 pity views, then I'll stop. Because I really am doing it for the audience. Who knows what I'm doing this for? Who knows? That's it.